What's going on, everyone? And I am back again today to do something I should have done a long time ago, and that is continue with my One Piece review journey videos, I guess you want to call them that. So I will say it's been a long time, and I apologize for that. I've been just my life has just been absolutely crazy lately, guys. I barely have enough time to keep this up. I am really struggling to make YouTube videos at the moment. But in the time I've been off the One Piece videos, I have just become a massive fan of it. In case you can't tell from the replica swords right there on the wall, we got Zoro's swords. I also somehow, I don't know how I was able to achieve this, but I convinced my group to cosplay as One Piece characters for OhioCon this year, despite the fact that over half our group doesn't even watch One Piece, and I don't even think my sister particularly likes One Piece. And I also have a giant straw hat flag hanging in my office now. You can't see it. Actually, you know what? Hold on one second. So if you take a look, that's hanging right to the left of my desk. So yeah, I'm officially a One Piece fan now in the meantime, and so I'm just excited to get back in and talk about One Piece, you know, as a person that is experiencing this like for the first time in their lives. So today we are going to continue on with a long anticipated arc of mine, and that was the Alabasta arc. So I was really excited going into the Alabasta arc because this was the first arc in the story where I felt like every event of the previous arcs in this saga was just building up to like this one arc. Because in the East Blue, everything kind of felt like its own little self-contained story, you know, with Buggy, Kuro, the stuff at Baratier, which did kind of lead into Arlong Park, but like we didn't really learn anything about what was going on in Arlong Park and the Kokoyashi Islands until we got to them. As opposed to this arc, where literally, besides Drum Island, really, because that was more of just like a side quest, but like Whiskey Peak and Little Garden were literally like just arcs that were building up more to this climax, you know, just introducing us to Baroque Works, introducing Crocodile as a villain and everything, the main big bad of this arc. So I was very excited to finally get to that penultimate arc, and I have to say, just overall, it delivered. I'll just go ahead and start off by saying, like, if Arlong Park was the arc that like made me think One Piece was great, Alabasta is the arc that made me think One Piece is incredible. This is the arc that solidified me on a lot of the things of like how I view One Piece like going forward. One of the things that dawned on me in this arc of One Piece is that while I think the fights are cool, and I do like the fights, it's not even close to my favorite thing about the show. My favorite thing about the show is watching the group dynamic and the adventure aspects of it. Watching the group grow and change together as they explore these new places and interact with new people. That is, I think, the most golden thing about One Piece to me. But besides that, I do enjoy the fighting. The fighting's fine. This is the arc where it solidified for me. My favorite thing is just watching the Straw Hats interact as a group with, like, and the people they meet and integrate into their, you know, just dynamic. It's just so fun to watch. And one of the scenes in this arc that stuck out to me, and it's actually, I found out later that it was a filler episode where this was said, which I can't believe it, because this is like one of the most legendary lines in all of One Piece, in my opinion, or at least to the parts I've seen so far. It's when they're on their way to Yuba after they arrive in Alabasta. Chopper and Zoro are talking, and Chopper's just joined the crew. I made a joke about this in the last video, but like Chopper just met these guys and he's automatically thrust into this freaking like countrywide solving a political situation, civil war. Like, it's just such high intensity after, like, it's the first thing he does after he meets these people. But Chopper and Zoro are talking, and Chopper's just like, oh man, like, you guys are, I feel like I might have joined the wrong crew. Like, you guys are, like, do you guys work together at all? Like, you guys are so dysfunctional. And I can't remember exactly what Zoro says, but he says something along the lines of just like, yeah, like, we don't really do that. Like, we're not really like the teamwork type. And that really comes out, I think, when I compare Vivi to the rest of the Straw Hats. Because overall, I feel like the Straw Hats are a pretty selfish group of people. Like, Luffy legitimately only does like what he wants to do. And that's an endearing part of his character, but it's also like an inherently selfish, like, characteristic of himself. Is just like he's only going to do what he wants to do. If he doesn't want to do it, he will not do it. But like Zoro goes on to say, like, yeah, we all have like our individual goals. Like, you know, none of us have the same goal as Luffy. They're all working towards their own goals in tandem. And Zoro says that, like, I'm doing the best I can to achieve my goals. and I'm going to expect them to do the same. It's a really kind of unorthodox dynamic, but it's just like, it just works with the Straw Hats, you know? I feel like that's just a stereotype you see in shonen. Of course, you know, I fight for my friends! But like in One Piece, it's just different, because like, they don't have to say that they're like, you know, family or whatever, because it's just shown like through the way they act with each other, which I think is just one of the most endearing parts of One Piece, and is something that really presented itself in this arc, and is like one of the first times like I actually made like a mental note of that. And another thing I noticed in this arc is with the involvement of Ace, and how Ace just kind of gives Luffy that piece of paper and then just pieces out. I said this in my previous video, but like before Ace was introduced, I knew who he was. I knew he was Luffy's brother, and I knew he was a pirate and things like that. I knew what his name was. I still don't know like what he does like later on in the story, but like obviously like we're dropping something here with that piece of paper that he gave Luffy. Like, oh, this is gonna come into play later. And I've heard that Oda is like, he just will drop like tiny little things and then like make them into big ass plot points like 150 episodes later. It's kind of hard for me to keep track of all the little things, and my monkey brain just can't process all that. But this was like the first time I like noticed that, like, oh yeah, that little paper that Ace gave Luffy, that's gonna come into, I know that's gonna come into play later on. So another thing I loved about the Alabasta arc, and why it was just such an incredible arc to me, just compared to a lot of the other arcs in One Piece, and I've said this before, is just the stakes are so much higher, because this is not like a little village, or this is not just like a personal thing that they're sorting out. This is a countrywide civil war, like hundreds of thousands of lives are dependent upon the outcome of this conflict, and the stakes are shown like through Vivi's internal conflicts and how much she struggles with like what she has to accomplish, and the scale of the problem that she has to solve. It's just like overwhelming her at times. And of course, I can't talk about this arc without talking about the main villain, Crocodile, who was like just the most awesome villain at this point in One Piece to me. So I got to talk about Crocodile for a little bit. So first off, starting off with Crocodile, he's introduced as one of the 7 warlords, and that's already a big deal, because you know the first warlord that we meet in the series is Mihawk. Going up against one of the 7 warlords seems like a ludicrous task, comparing this guy to Mihawk. And it's not just Crocodile by himself, he's also the head of this massive organization. He's also partnered with Nico Robin, who, like I said before, I know about Nico Robin, guys. Unfortunately, that's just not something I could have avoided in my, 14 plus years of watching anime. Then we have all the Baroque's Works agents like working under him, and we see that scene with them in the meeting was really cool. And then I said this before, they all have devil fruit powers, which is, like I said, this is the first time we're fighting a whole group of people that have powerful devil fruit powers. And not only that, Crocodile's devil fruit powers are like crazy powerful, because he's a Logia type, and Logia types are freaking broken. I seriously don't get like how you can fight a Logia type. I mean, unless they have like a critical weakness like Crocodile, which we'll get into later. And then also there's the people's perception of Crocodile, which I thought was interesting and does kind of explain how the whole warlord thing works a little bit more, and like how like Crocodile to these people is presented as like a hero. He's like he's a world, they're technically like world government affiliates, so like he's fighting against the pirates, and so he presents himself as this heroic guy, even though he's walking around going and also he's wearing his coat over his fucking shoulders. Anyone who wears their coat like that is automatically fucking evil. But that goes to show you that Crocodile's influence is incredible, and he's just immediately presented as this very, very imposing force, and he just felt like a threatening villain. And that's something like we've kind of lacked a little bit, I feel like, in the past like couple arcs, because Wapol was just a terrible, I just didn't find him intimidating at all. He was just so goofy. I felt like that was something that was missing from One Piece since the Arlong Park arc, is that we like had a truly menacing villain like Arlong was. Crocodile definitely comes across and fulfills that role, not only being one of the 7 warlords, who we know are crazy powerful at this point, but also just the resources he has, his position in like the government, his just how he's situated himself. He just seems like an unbeatable obstacle for the Straw Hats, and that is really good as a villain for this arc of the story. So moving on to the actual conflict, I was expecting like some matchups once I saw like the count of the amount of Baroque Works agents and everything. So I've said this before, but I really enjoy watching the weaker characters fight in One Piece, and that also culminates a little bit in another scene that stuck out to me in this arc, and it's when Nami talks to Usopp about like her strength and Usopp's strength too. And she's just like, you know, the other people on our crew, like they can fight with their own powers because they're all like, they all have like these crazy powers. You know, Luffy and Chopper have devil fruit powers, and then Zoro and Sanji are just like freakishly strong. Nami and Usopp are just normal people. Like they're not fighters. Like that's not their goal. That's not their roles. And you know, Nami feels a little insecure about that, and she's just like, they can fight with, like, they can protect themselves, and like I just get in the way. I want to be able to fight alongside them and like be able to help. And then like, you know, Usopp is just like silently listening there, which is crazy because Usopp never shuts up. That is like one of his like major character things, is that he never stops fucking talking, but like he's just so quiet. And that scene just stuck out so much to my head, and like how I love Usopp and Nami's dynamic. I feel like Nami is like the older sister character to Luffy. I really feel like Nami and Usopp are just like really good friends, you know? I love their dynamic together, and I just loved that scene, and it definitely culminated in their fights, Nami and Usopp's fights, even though Usopp was also being assisted by Chopper. I enjoyed all the fights, but like I said, I like watching the fighting with the weaker characters. Like Zoro's fight was just like, I'm just gonna cut him even better, and I'll cut through steel. But like with Usopp and Nami, because they're not like so physically powerful, they have to like outsmart their enemies, and they have to come up with like unorthodox ways for them to beat their opponents, which I think is more interesting than just, you know, hit them harder next time, or I'm gonna unga bunga my way to a victory. But the fights were great. But that also brings us to Crocodile and Luffy's confrontation, which happened 3 times. I wasn't expecting a 3-round confrontation between Luffy and Crocodile. I have to say, round 1, yeah, that kind of went exactly how I expected it. I seriously don't understand how you're supposed to beat a Logia. Like, that just doesn't, I just don't see how you do that. I also feel bad for Crocodile because his devil fruit is so strong, but he just has such a crippling weakness with the water. Literally every human has water in them. Also, this world they live in is like 99% water. It's just such a glaring thing. And I know he took like the precautions by using all the dance powder and everything to get like rid of the rain, so like he's basically invincible. But like if he has water, he just becomes like, you know, just a normal guy that can fight pretty well. And his devil fruit powers are still useful, but like it mitigates his greatest advantage, being that he's intangible, which is kind of, I don't know. I was just like, man, that's just kind of sad that his weakness is water, which is something that every human is made out of. But I still loved the confrontation. Like I said, Crocodile was still a very powerful villain, and it was a very triumphant victory. When Luffy was knocking him through the ceiling, and that, I think it's Vorak, that music came on. Like I the first time I heard that was in Ashura's Wrath, and I was just like, what? Like, I was like, why is this music coming on? And then let's not forget, of course, the baddest woman in One Piece, Nico Robin, dropping us some lore with this whole poneglyph thing. I have no idea what any of that is. I don't think I really understand it, but apparently she's the only one that can read that stuff, or she can read that stuff, but she like played off Crocodile, but she didn't tell Crocodile what was actually written on it. Obviously these poneglyph things are like super important and is going to be something that I'm going to see more of. They're looking for a weapon. I didn't really get it. To me, that information just missed its mark. I'm just, you know, I need to watch more, and they're gonna come up again. That was obviously a super important lore thing, these poneglyphs or whatever they're called. And then of course, Robin joining the crew, absolutely. I already knew she was gonna join the crew at some point, but I have to say, the opening, like towards the end of this arc, and it's before Robin joins the crew. It's before the end of the Alabasta arc, I should say. And the opening has Robin. It shows Robin with the Straw Hats, like on the ship, like joining the crew.
What?
That is a major spoiler. Like I was just like, I'm kind of glad I was spoiled that Robin already joined the crew, because if I wasn't, I would have been pissed if I watched that opening and I see Robin with the straw, I'd be like, what the fuck? I thought she's a villain. But yeah, we have Robin joining the crew, and you know, she's of course a very interesting character. She has this ability to read like these things no one can read, and she's still mysterious to me at this point. So I'm very looking forward to learning more about her. And like I said, it's just interesting. Like, just because I knew she was on the crew at some point, it's still interesting to me, like, seeing where she started and like watching where she's gonna go from here, because like I said, she was pretty much the secondary antagonist like to Crocodile. She was Crocodile's partner, and now she's part of the protagonist crew, and so that's just an interesting development. So I'd like to see where she goes from here. And then of course another triumphant scene was the goodbye to Vivi. I will admit, Vivi did endear herself to me, you know, through these arcs. I knew she wasn't going to join the crew because I knew Nico Robin was going to join the crew, so like we can't have both of them join the crew. But I wasn't expecting such an emotional send-off. Like I loved how she didn't say we will always be friends. She asked them, will you still be my friend? And you know, of course it's shown in anime, so we have to do something about friendship. But instead of Luffy being his, you know, normal bombastic self, they do a silent symbol to them showing, yes, we will always be friends. It's a wordless answer, and I just thought that was glorious. And then you hear the "We Are" playing in the background, and oh my god, whenever "We Are" comes on in this show, I just lose my shit. I know something awesome is about to happen whenever "We Are" comes on, and honestly, "We Are" probably makes it more awesome whenever it comes on. But yeah, guys, that pretty much sums up the Alabasta arc for me. I like I said, if Arlong Park was the arc that like got me sold on One Piece, this was the arc that just like solidified One Piece as like, yo, this show is amazing. I just love the adventure aspects. It's just compared to every other conflict we've had, this just seemed like such a much bigger thing. There was just so many scenes that like just opened up the world even more, like with Nico Robin, with, you know, explaining the warlords, Ace introducing himself, and like also, you know, explaining about Blackbeard. We're seeing how the scale of the world grow even more, and I feel like it's just gonna be a limitless growth. So guys, that's my thoughts on the Alabasta arc of One Piece. Just an amazing ride. I swear I could glaze this show for days. I'm just enjoying it so much. What'd you guys think of this arc? What'd you think of my opinions? Please leave your thoughts in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you guys. Next time we're gonna be doing the Jaya and Skypiea arcs, so look forward to that. I myself am looking forward to it. If you want to see another One Piece video, please like this video to let me know. And if you aren't already, please subscribe to the channel. It helps me out more than you know, and it lets you know when I post in the future. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching to the very end of the video, and I will see you all next time. Bye.